Hey, I'm Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for tuning in. And if you're returning, thank you for returning. I was watching a Sarah Jakes sermon. I love her so much. I love how she can connect with, I don't know why my throat is like this, guys. I've been having a scratchy throat, draining sinus, so forgive me. But I love how she can connect with everybody. She can connect with the youth. And when I say youth, I'm saying like me at 28, but she can connect with people that are twice my age. She just knows how God uses her correctly, I'll say, or, efficiently. I don't know. But I said that to say the sermon that I watched, she was talking about God keeping his promises. And what I took from it, like I was taking notes because I resonated with what she said. And what I took from it was that a lot of times we think God changes his mind on us because we've changed our mind on ourselves, right? Now, that's a big one. That's not something that we often share with people. That's not something that we can often acknowledge. But a lot of times we allow shame and guilt to create a space between us and God, and not only us and God, but us and God's promises. So we start to think that God's no longer keeping his promise, but we're actually not holding up our side of the bargain. A lot of times we think that things are just black and white, and I always tell people it's never just black and white. There's always a gray area. There's things that God laid on your heart to do, whether it was prayer every day, whether it was meditate every day, whether it was like to get in the gym, whether it was to drink more water. Only you know what that small still voice told you, but you know what it told you. With that being said, when we take every day we make a decision, and every day we make decisions a lot of times that aren't the ones that God told us to do. So every day you chose not to pray or write your prayers, every day that you chose not to meditate, every day you chose not to get in the gym, every day you chose to go out when you're supposed to stay in, right? As time passes, it creates a situation, a circumstance that puts more space between you and the promise. So it's not that God didn't keep his promise. We didn't do what we needed to do to meet the promise, right? And the burden that we put on ourselves when we make decisions that we know we didn't have to make, that were probably not in our best interest, we start to feel guilty. We start to feel shame because we know that we had the instructions, or at least we had the guidance and the leadership of God to get where we needed to be, but we chose to do it ourselves. As I always say, we're people in the world, not people of the world. But when we act like people of the world, we end up having worldly experiences that take us away from God's protection. Now, you're always in God's protection, but a lot of times it's as if, think of a father hugging their child, like a small child, and think about that child, like shielding that child from something, right? Think about that child intentionally going outside of the father's arms towards whatever the harm was he was shielding the child from. That is literally what we do all the time. And then we like to turn it on God and say that he didn't keep his promise when we never did what God told us to do to get the promise, right? And if I'm going over your head, stay with me. For example, let's say that you want a job, a better paying job. You can't expect the job to come if you never even applied for a job. You didn't even hit the search bar, babe. You didn't even hit the search bar. You didn't hit a search engine, Google, nothing, Indeed, nothing. How was the job going to come? All the things that we say that we want to do, a lot of times we just say them and we leave it there. And there is no benefit to us being intellectually lazy. Now, God is using me in this moment because I knew I wanted to make this video, and I knew it was going to be powerful because that sermon itself was powerful for me. So God gave me a seed and watered it, and I'm giving it to you guys. But as I'm saying this, he's giving me something else. Being intellectually lazy is too close to an idle mind. Do not let that go over your head. And as they say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. You need to have your brain filled with the fruit, okay? God's words. Because we have so many thoughts a day. Like I saw something that said, I think like we have like 60,000 thoughts a day. So if we have 60,000 thoughts a day and some of those thoughts are not of our own, then we need to go in overtime to make sure that the thoughts and the voices in our head, the perspective that we have, are divinely led. Otherwise, there's way too many thoughts that are coming from other, and we know other is not of God, okay? So stop saying that God's not keeping his promise, because you're not keeping your promise. You're not keeping your promise. You're not doing your part. You're not showing up in the way that God has asked you to show up. And you wonder why you have not met the blessing that you're looking for. And a lot of times, why would God give us the thing that we're asking for if we don't have the ability to sustain it? Why are you asking for a garden and you're going to kill it? You're going to kill it with your own choices, your lack of watering, your lack of fertilizer, your lack of pulling weeds, like your maintenance. Everything that you are doing right now is creating the today and the tomorrows that we are asking for, or we have to live to see. So it's like, you can't say that God's not keeping his promises when God has told you exactly what you needed to do and you still haven't done it. And God never goes away. God never leaves us. We stop talking to him. Again, that guilt, that shame eats us up, and then we create that distance. You know, when you did something to somebody and you felt bad about it, but it took too much out of you. That ego was too big for you to say that you were wrong and for you to be accountable, to hold space and show up in a capacity that was necessary to mend that. We do that to God. We do that to God, and God never left us. God is still waking us up every day. God still has a sound mind and body. God still blesses us every day. Even when we didn't do the things that God told us to do, he still shows up and blesses us every day. There's so many things that he protects us from. There's so many things that he shows up and gives to us that we did not deserve in the midst of not doing what we needed to do. So to say that God doesn't keep his promises is insane. God doesn't keep his promise, and God doesn't not keep his promises, and God doesn't change his mind. We change our mind, and we change our mind on ourselves. God never said we weren't his child when we did the things that he told us not to do. When someone goes off on drugs, God doesn't stop loving them. When someone becomes like an ex-murderer, I don't know why my voice got low. It's like, fuck. But when someone becomes an ex-murderer, God still doesn't stop loving them. A lot of times they stop loving themselves. They give up on themselves. You know, sometimes we feel like we made a decision that put too much space between us and God, and there's no turning back. And you should never feel like that. You should never feel like you can't talk to God again. You can't show up with God again. You can't have that fellowship with God again, because that's simply not true. And the best advice I could give to anyone is to never let it get that bad. But a lot of times life is happening, we're distracted, we have our own traumas and experiences in real time that put us in a dark space. The best thing you can do is start praying from there. Pray from there. Pray every day. Pray like it's your job, okay? Because prayer works. I think that people like hear that and they think it's cliche, and I feel like people who think it's cliche think that because they've never been in a position to see what prayer actually does. As a person that knows the power of prayer, that is seeing how divine God works, that is seeing God create and do so many miracles in my life, again, situations I put myself in, God has literally pulled me out unscathed every time. And when I make videos like this, it reminds me that like we will get so caught up in the world, still doing the things that we know better than doing. And then we're going to turn and say that God don't keep his promises. The audacity of us. When we never held up our side of the bargain and God was still showing up for us. God was still keeping us. God was still protecting us. God was still giving. Okay? Because we could have went without. But you have. If you're watching this video, that means you have. You have something. You had the ability to see this video. I don't care if you on somebody's Wi-Fi ad like McDonald's. You have the ability to see this video. And God brought it to a theater near you for a reason. I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying. God keeps his promises. And, you know, we have to start keeping our promises to ourselves. A big thing on building confidence is doing what you say you're going to do. Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself to do the things that you said you were going to do? And why do you want the things that you're praying for if you're not in a position to do the things that you said you were going to do? Because discipline is going to get you further than any motivation. Discipline is going to get you further than any sweet nothing. You know, a lot of times we want to be pacified. And that is not, you know, that's not the method to the madness. Discipline is going to be your answer. Yes, you have to be kind to yourself on your journey because, again, guilt and shame will eat you up so much that a lot of times we walk around like we have the scarlet letter on ourselves and we've given up on ourselves. And God's like, wait, I didn't give up on you. Like, I still have a plan. Like, there's still another opportunity. There's still another option. Okay, this path didn't work. We can still go this way. You can always start over. You can always clean a slate. And it doesn't matter what anybody else sees, because we're not facing judgment from them. We're facing judgment from God. And God is still extending us grace. God is still taking a chance on us. So we still have to take that chance on ourselves. And we still have to believe in Him and pray with Him and create fellowship and community with Him and make time with Him. Because God is always with us. And like us ignoring God or not praying and meditating and showing up with God on a daily is like as if you had like a child or a family member that literally was always there, like, do you need me? I'm here to help. Seeing you like do things that you know you can't do. Like you're trying to build a house, you've never built a house before. And God's like, hey, I'm here with the tools. I have this. I got sheetrock, whatever else you would need. I'm not building houses. But y'all get the point. Like, and you're just like, I got it. I'm okay. Not okay. Not okay. House getting blown in the wind, made of straw. And that goes back to say anything in your life that you ask for, that you want, if God's presence is not there, then you don't want it, because there is no bigger disappointment than getting the things that you thought that you wanted or things that you said that you needed or prayed for with the absence of the presence of God. That is a hurt, that's a pain, that's a disappointment, that is a grief that I cannot explain, but I also don't wish on anyone. But I also want everyone to understand that it's so important to show up and do your side of the bargain. Actually listen to God. Stop being a stubborn child. Stop thinking you have the answers when clearly you don't have all the answers. And that's okay, because once you know something, you know nothing at all. I hope this video found who it needed to find. And I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.